Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today I'm going to continue my 2018 reading wrap-up with books 36 through 45. These are the videos where I do short mini reviews for the most current books that I've read in the year. I've done a couple of reviews for some of the books that I'll be talking about in this video, so I won't go into very much depth for those, but I'll leave those linked everywhere and you can check them out for yourself. I'm still playing catch-up with books that I read towards the end of my first year of law school, so I'm trying to catch up with those, and hopefully within the next couple of wrap-ups I'll be up to date and everything will be current again. If you missed any of my other wrap-ups, I'll leave them down in the description as a playlist and you can watch all of them if you want to, but let's get started. The 36th book that I read in 2018 is Beartown by Fredrik. This was a reread for me, and obviously it's one of my favorite books that I've ever read. I did a book review for this book when I first read it, and I'll leave that up in the card symbol if you want to check it out, but my thoughts and feelings of it are pretty much the exact same. I think it's incredible. I've talked about this book so much on my channel, like I think I've talked about this book in the last 4 videos that I've posted, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I freaking love this book. I think the writing is incredible. I loved following all the characters, and I just thought that the eerie feeling, and I think it's very realistic. I think it's really well done. Loved it. Gave it 5 stars still. I definitely recommend this one. If you're wanting to check out Fredrik, this is my favorite one of his. I've done reviews for all his books. I'll leave them down in the description as a playlist. You can check them out. But yeah, loved it. And I need to read Us Against You as soon as possible because that book comes out in a couple of days. Next up, I finally continued with the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I read The Great Hunt, which is the second book in the series. The first one for me, I think I read it in 2015, so it's been quite some time. The first one for me, I found the middle of the book extremely slow, and I went into a reading slump while reading it, so it took me months to read that book. This one I thought was strides better. I will say not much happens plot-wise. I feel like this book was a bit of a filler book and was moving characters from one point to another to set them up for events happening in the future of the series, which I was actually okay with. Usually I don't love filler books, but this one kept me engaged the entire time. So the little plot that was happening was really good, but it's not the most action-packed book ever. There's a lot of traveling and moving characters from one place to another for future craziness in the series. Mainly, I thought this book was just way better paced. The events that are happening happen at the same pace, so it's not breakneck speed at any point and then slows down a lot. It's just one steady pace. I liked in this one that we learn a lot more about the Aes Sedai. I mean, there's still so many things to learn about this world, especially because this is the second book in a 14-book series, but I thought that we got to learn a little bit more about this mysterious group of women and how their structure is set up, how the different Aes Sedai kind of compete with each other based off of what color Aes Sedai that they are. I love history. I've said it so many times. I liked getting the history of the Aes Sedai and of this world and getting to know a little bit more about the history of the magic in this world. So I thought those were really interesting and kept me engaged. But as I said, it was a bit of a filler book, so I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I also read it as an audiobook, which I recommend because it helped me get through it. And maybe that is what contributed to the pacing being a little bit better. I'm not sure, but I did enjoy this one. I did not expect to enjoy it as much. That's why I put it off for so long. So I'm glad that I did pick it up and I did like it. The 38th thing that I read in 2018 is Shazam from the Pages of the Justice League by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. This is a part of the New 52, but it's really just a collection of the issues that have Shazam in them. This is not actually like a specific comic book run. That was its own thing. It says volume 1 on the spine, so when I finished it, I really enjoyed it. I wanted to read volume 2, but that's not a thing because these were just a part of the Justice League overall and just compiled into this one because it all had to do with Shazam. If you guys don't know, Shazam is a orphan little boy, and when he says Shazam, he ends up having all these superpowers and can fly and all this stuff. So seeing him go through the process of finding out that he is now Shazam and has all these powers and he has to protect the Earth from Black Adam, I believe. It's been a little while since I read this. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I wish it had been an actual series, but I gave this 4 stars and I am curious to check out more Shazam in the future. So if you guys have any Shazam recommendations, leave them down in the comments. Also, I ended up reading this because I think that a DC movie is coming out for this book in 2019. So I wanted to familiarize myself with the comic book character before going into that. I then needed to continue my BookTube SFF reading because I'm so far behind on that. The live show is coming up in like a week and a half. I still have a lot of books to read for it. Some of the books will come up in future wrap-ups, but man, I am really behind. So I ended up picking up The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden from my library as an audiobook, and I did really enjoy that because I'm not very good at pronouncing Russian names, and the audiobook narrator does a really good job of doing that, so I knew how to pronounce the people's names. I forgot I read all these books during the O.W.L. readathon thing that was going on. I read this one as the Care for Magical Creatures because there are magical, like, household spirits involved, and the main character, Vasilisa, is tasked with caring for them and keeping them healthy, that kind of stuff, because she's able to see them. If you guys don't know, this follows a girl named Vasilisa. She lives in a small town, and there are all these Russian folklore elements that are real in this story. She's the daughter of the guy who runs this town. She's always been a bit off because she likes to do what guys like to do. She likes to go exploring, she likes to go riding on horses, stuff like that, when in this town and in this story there are very strict gender roles where women stay in the town, stay in the house, do the cleaning, cooking, that kind of thing, and the men go out and hunt and ride horses and adventure. Some problems start to happen because there is a conflict between the household spirits that Vasilisa can see and this new religion, Christianity, coming into the mix and wanting to eliminate the old traditions of her people. I ended up really enjoying this one. I think I gave this one 4 stars. I found it very atmospheric. You felt this isolated feeling that Vasilisa feels. You can feel the cold creeping in, that kind of thing. I really liked Vasilisa as a character, and I really liked her journey and her personal journey, coming to terms with being different than other people and being okay with that kind of thing. And because I really liked Vasilisa and I really liked the atmosphere and the writing of this book, that's why I ended up giving this book 4 stars. But there are a couple of things that people should know before going into this book. One is that Christianity is like super evil in this book, which Christianity has done some evil things in the past. So I enjoyed it, but not everyone would enjoy that because some people are very protective of Christianity. So know that going in. Also, Vasilisa is beaten like all the time. She gets beaten so much by everyone in her life. By her father, by the church people, by her caretaker, by her siblings. It's just crazy how much violence she has to endure during the course of this book. I felt like she was getting beaten up at least every other chapter. I don't know, I just thought that was weird and I didn't really like that. And one last thing is that the gender roles in this are very enforced. It's very traditional Russia, that kind of thing. She is still viewed as being in the wrong when she doesn't want to do all these things. That never changes. So according to my Goodreads review, there's a couple more things that I wanted to address. One was I really love the magic. I love Vasilisa's ability to see all these household creatures and interact with them on an everyday basis. I thought that that was really intriguing and lent into me being so invested in her story and wanting to find out what would happen to her and these spirits, especially because Christianity is trying to get rid of them. So I thought that was really interesting. And my only other thought that I wanted to express was that I think that the ending of this book was a little bit rushed and wrapped up very quickly, and I wish that that had been expanded a little bit more and explained a little bit more. But overall, really enjoyed it. I know that there is a second book that either is coming out very soon or already came out. I'm not exactly sure on that, but hopefully I will be continuing because I did enjoy this one. I did end up giving it 4 stars. The 40th book that I read in 2018 is The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. This is the 3rd book in the Broken Earth trilogy, which if you guys don't know, is a trilogy I really enjoy. The 3rd book is also nominated for the BookTube SFF Awards in the fantasy category. I ended up reading this one as my herbology O.W.L. Whatever one had to have something to do with the like earth and nature, because stone, sky, get it? I did an individual book review for this, so I will leave that up in the card symbol if you want to check it out. I actually didn't love this as much as I was hoping to. I thought that the plot was a little bit more meandering than I was hoping it would be, and I just didn't get invested in this story as much as I did in the first 2 books. I loved the first 2 books, but this one I just couldn't get into. I ended up switching to the audiobook at some point because I just had no motivation to continue reading this. I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars because I thought the ending was really good, but it was just getting there that was a struggle bus for me. Mainly this one character named Nasun, I just could not get behind her, and I just found her very frustrating, so it really affected my enjoyment of this one. Definitely sad I didn't love this one as much as I was hoping to. Check out the review if you want to know more. I forgot to say that The Great Hunt was also one of my O.W.Ls. It was whatever one was for fantasy. I think it was Charms, so read that one as well. The 41st book that I read in 2018 is The Outcast by Taran Matharu. I did a non-spoiler book review for this as well, and I'll leave that up at the card symbol if you want to know more of my thoughts. The Stone Sky one is spoiler though, so watch out for that. But this one is non-spoiler. This is the prequel to the Summoner trilogy, which I did reviews for the second and third book, which you can also check out. I'll leave those down in the description. The Outcast follows a character a couple of decades before the events of the Summoner series start taking place. It follows a guy named Arcturus, and he finds out that he's a common summoner, so he's a commoner that's able to perform these magical abilities that only noblemen are able to do. During the course of the novel, he and his new demon sidekick Sakurisa attend a magical school where they start to learn more about their powers and then go on a couple of different adventures that are highly integrated with the series, but you're not going to be spoiled for the series if you read this first. It actually does a really good job of setting up this world and setting up the seeds of the events of the main series, so I thought that that was really well done. I love how fast-paced Taran's books are. They're very action-packed from beginning to end, and I really like how easy the writing is to get into. You can really picture everything that's happening, and you don't have trouble doing so. The only thing with this one is that I thought that the main character Arcturus read very similar to the main character of the main series, Fletcher, which is a little bit explained because Arcturus sees a lot of himself in Fletcher, but I wish that they had been a little bit more different. And if you want to know more thoughts, spoiler-free review. Nook makes an appearance, so check it out. This was probably something for a O.W.L, but I can't remember. Then studying for finals really ramped up, and I needed to study for finals. So I ended up reading a couple of supplement books that people have asked to see, so I'll include them in my wrap-up. I read A Short and Happy Guide to Property by Paula Franzese. Anyway, I ended up reading this one because that was my first final that I was going to be taking. It was an 8-hour exam that I took from 8:30 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon, and yeah, it was really intense. But this actually ended up helping a lot. It helped me structure my outline that I was coming up with a lot better than I had structured it before. It just made me realize things that might be more important on the exam, which helped out a lot because they ended up being important on the exam. Still haven't found out my grades, which is kind of crazy. I think I'm supposed to find those out soon. It's a law supplement. I mean, there's not really all that much to say. I didn't give it a rating on Goodreads or anything. I just said that I'd read it. I think that the author did a really good job of being funny. She uses a lot of pop culture references in explaining property law, which I really enjoyed. So, I mean, it was good, I guess. We'll see how I do on my exams. And while we're here, I might as well just talk about the other one that I'll be talking about in this video. And I read A Short and Happy Guide to Contracts by Epstein, Markle, and Ponaroff. This one was super funny because all of the authors contribute to each chapter of the book, so they divide it by paragraph and subsection and stuff like that, and each of them makes fun of each other all the time, and it was hilarious. I really enjoyed it. This one also included a couple of the cases, the main cases that would be on the exam, stuff like that. My contracts exam ended up being 3.5, 4 hours, something around there. And I don't think that this one helped me as much because I took really good notes for my contracts class and my outline was pretty solid for that one. But it was just another method of getting the information across, and I appreciated it for that. I have these in physical copy, but they're just at school and I didn't bring them home. These I used a lot to highlight in and all that stuff. So if you're starting law school or interested in law or anything like that, these are very helpful, especially if you read them before you're really supposed to be studying. If you read them at the beginning of your class, it's going to help you make a lot more connections. At least it would, in my mind. I still have a bad habit of not reading them until I'm actually studying for the exam, but they would help you a lot if you read them before you're starting to study, if you read them during the actual class. Then I read Passage to Avalon, the first book in the epic adventures of the Techno Wizard by Mike Thayer. I did an individual non-spoiler review for this as well, so that'll be up in the card symbol if you want to check it out. This one follows a boy named Sam who is living just his regular life with his single mother. Then one day there's this huge earthquake and he wakes up in Avalon. Throughout the course of the novel, he's trying to find his way from Avalon back to Earth. This is a self-published middle grade novel, and what's really cool about this story is that it's set in the 2030s. Sam is, I guess, in the future, and the technology in that future is a little bit more powerful than we have today, and it allows him to have contact with Earth while he's still in Avalon. He's able to contact his mother and check in with her, make sure that she knows that he's doing okay and who he's with and what he's doing. He's also able to contact some friends of his that are still over here. He's become an internet trending news story and everything like that. They call him Quake Boys. I think that that really made this novel for me because I was laughing at those parts. I thought that it was awesome that he was trending on social media. And I think that it worked really well with this fantasy story, and I liked that the technology and the fantasy wove together very well. I also liked all of the side characters. I just really got behind them and was invested in finding out what was going to happen to them, and I still am invested. I really want to know what's going to happen to them next in the next book. The only thing with this one is that I thought it was a little bit convenient and he didn't really have that many consequences for making bad decisions, so I wish that those were in here, but I think they might be coming in the future. We'll see. But if you want to know more of my specific thoughts, check out that review. And lastly, the 45th thing that I read in 2018 is Bindi Home in the Bindi trilogy by Nnedi Okorafor. It follows this girl named Bindi. She is a part of the Himba tribe, which is a group of people living in Africa that have a tradition of rubbing this substance called ochis. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's an orange substance on their skin and in their hair. And they're a real tribe. You can look it up on Google and you can see pictures of what these people look like. Anyway, she's what's called a master harmonizer, which means that she is tasked with bringing some sort of peace to the people around her and to her life. Her master harmonizing ability is that she's very, very good at math, and she sees the world in numbers, and she's very spatially aware. But she doesn't want to just stay in the Himba tribe. She really wants to go to this university, which is viewed as a bad thing. This is a science fiction novella, so the university is set on a different planet and there's aliens and stuff. The first book follows her as she decides to take on the consequences of leaving her home and leaving her family and breaking tradition. She decides that she's going to this university anyway, and it follows her during that journey. This one, Bindi Home, is obviously she comes back home. It's about what happened in the interim between her leaving and her coming back. What are the consequences for that? It also has a huge message of parental expectations and expectations in general, and how they can be a bad thing and can be very harmful. There's one chapter specifically in this book that I really loved that was talking about the parental expectations and how she just wanted to do this one thing and to have fun, but her parents wouldn't let her because they were forcing her into this one specific role. Her life would have been completely different if her parents had just been a little bit more accepting of the things that she wanted to do. Really loved that. If you really liked Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which is about parental expectations on a set of twins where one is expected to be more feminine, stereotypically feminine, and one is expected to be more stereotypically masculine, and the bad effects that that has, I think you would really enjoy the Bindi series because there's a lot of expectations on Bindi, and a lot of people are expecting her to act a certain way or do certain things, and it affects her life. However, I don't love this series very much. I've never been very invested in Bindi's story. I read it because it's a series of novellas, so it doesn't take very much time at all. I know people, tons of people, love this series. I think the first book won the Hugo and the Nebula Award, so don't take my word for it, but I never got really invested, and I thought that the ending of this book was pretty abrupt, so I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars because I did enjoy it. I did really like those messages, but this whole series hasn't wowed me or anything like that. So those are the next 10 things that I read in 2018. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below what you've been reading recently. Have you read all the BookTube SFF Awards books? Because I have not. Anything else you want me to know, leave it down below, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.